These are new metal releases for May 22nd, 2026. It's an interesting week. I don't have many big name bands this week. I have some cool underground finds. I have a few bands from Italy that I was familiar with, and the rest of them are new to me except for The Warning, which is just a single I want to talk about. So with that being said, let me get into it. I have 10 releases to talk about. First band I have is called Witching Hour, and the album is called Descending, Where Time Has Ceased to Exist. This is their fourth full-length studio album. They are a German black thrash metal band or a power trio. The album was released May 22nd, 2026 via underground record label Dying Victims Production. It's the first album in 8 years. Also, my first time listening to the band. There are 6 tracks, and the album is 44 minutes long. The band has this foundation of classic German thrash, but they also incorporate black metal, and this time they're expanding their sound to include elements of new wave of British heavy metal and lots of other sounds. And they also incorporate guitar harmonies and lots of stuff. The opening track is the shortest track called Descending. It's about 2.5 minutes. It's creepy piano, strange background noise. It's a short instrumental. It sets the stage. And the first main song is called Where Time Has Ceased to Exist, which is more of a thrash metal track with black metal guitar tone. And that's pretty cool. I like the fact that they have a pretty cool guitar tone. It's a 7+ minute track and some long instrumental passages. Vocals are very harsh, like a mix of black metal and hardcore. The bass guitar sounds very good in the mix. Next track, Profane Resurrection of a Presumed Dead. That's more their black and thrash sound. Some melodic harmonies on the guitars. The rest of the album has similar sound. The band's kind of unique, almost like early Opeth mixed with German thrash. I think it's something I can get into. My score will be 8.5 out of 10, and they have a pretty unique sound. Next is As the Sun Falls with Songs from the Veil. They are a Swiss melodic death metal band. They are fairly new on the scene. They formed in 2020. This is their third full-length album. I believe I did a short review for the 2024 album Kamos. They're on the Gonia Records label. The album has 10 tracks. It's about an hour long. Opening track is an epic 7-minute song called Daughter of the Air. It starts with the sound of waves and haunting chanting vocals on a spoken word section in the beginning. Then the song takes off, and it's pretty intense. The sound was closer to black metal in my opinion, and they go into that atmospheric melodic death metal sound. I would say they sound similar to a band like Insomnium. Other key tracks include Below the Pale Tree, has some guitar riffs sounding like traditional heavy metal, but they don't stray from the core sound. Many songs incorporate sounds of nature. It's one of the themes throughout the album. There's this loose concept about the Finnish mythology and ancestral beliefs, and something they call a firefox, with some type of star formation that can be seen in the northern skies or something of that nature. The album also draws heavily from nature and the afterlife, and they're going for a very cold sound. Overall, pretty cool album. I'll have to spend more time with it, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. For me, it's an 8 out of 10. It's melodic death metal. There are heavy moments, some light moments, some acoustic guitars and stuff, but a lot packed into the sound, so pretty cool. Next, I have an EP from Italian folk and power metal band Elvenking with Rites of Disclosure, released May 22nd, 2026 via Reaper Entertainment. This release is their closing chapter of their long-running Reader of the Runes concept trilogy. The album has some brand new tracks like Blizzards of Anger and Rite of Passage, and there are a few cover songs from a few bands. Their influences including Iron Maiden, King Diamond, Children of Bodom, Bathory, Skyclad, and Venom. The opening track, Blizzards of Anger, was pretty cool. The opening guitar sounded like classic heavy metal. There were some pretty cool folk melodies. In the next song, Rite of Passage, more of a folk metal sounding track with a slightly theatrical sound, and the same can be said for The Past Is Forever. It was very folk metal sounding. The first cover was King Diamond's Arrival. It was cool. It had a slight folk metal sound, so it wasn't an exact replica of the original. The cover of Children of Decadence by Children of Bodom was also cool, and they put their own spin on it. The Iron Maiden cover was No Prayer for the Dying, but that was not on the streaming version, so I think it's just on the physical editions. Overall, pretty cool. My final score, 8 out of 10. Next is Impure Wilhelmina with Les Sanglot. This one's different. I've never heard them before, but they're celebrating their 30th anniversary as a band. They are a Swiss metal band that's hard to describe. The entire album is written and performed and sung in French. The sound is an atmospheric mix of progressive dark metal and shoegaze. And I'll talk about a few songs, try to explain it. The track is Électricité Noire. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a very atmospheric, progressive sound with clean vocals sung in French. There are elements of traditional rock music incorporated into the sound. And next is Cent Mille Pliates, and it gave me some King Crimson vibes mixed with grunge and traditional classic rock. Next was Abîme, and this was another atmospheric song with a slow pace. And the song Larmes de Joie. Again, I'm not probably just mispronouncing it, but one of the more energetic songs. Overall, type of album that needs repeat listens. For now, I'll give it 8 out of 10, but it could go up over time. Next is Vision Divine with A Clockwork Reverie, another EP from Italian progressive symphonic metal band. This was another band I was familiar with as I covered them on my Discovering Metal Band series from other countries for Italy. Songs are complex with mid-tempo progressive time signatures. First 4 songs are new songs, and the last 3 songs are re-recordings of older tracks. Opening track, Setor Rotas, is an intro track under a minute long, and the first main track is the title track. It's a pretty good track. It starts off like a softer symphonic song, but then they play some heavier guitar riffs. That was pretty cool. The song has some big and soaring vocals and a fast-paced sound, almost like a mix of traditional heavy metal and power metal. The next song is called 18, It Feels Like Heaven. This was more like a power ballad. Had a lot of melodic guitars, closer to 80s AOR. And the next song was pretty cool, called Andromeda, where they turn up the heaviness a little bit. And they play some cool guitar riffs. It also had a progressive metal sound that gave me some Dream Theater vibes. And the next 3 songs were re-recordings, but they were new to me as I don't know this band's discography very well. It was a mix of some softer tracks, the heavy tracks. And overall, I thought it was a pretty decent EP. All the songs were good. And I'm going to go a little higher with this one. I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. Next is Opera IX with Veneficium. I'm probably mispronouncing that again. They are another Italian band. They play symphonic black metal and formed back in 1988, so they're one of the older extreme metal bands in Italy. I covered this band on my series as well, and I was familiar with them. It's their 10th studio album. They are a 5-piece band, vocals by a woman named Serena Mastracco, and she goes by different names in different bands, but in this band, she goes by the name Dispas Dianaria, and it's symphonic black metal. They incorporate elements of gothic metal and doom. Vocals range from clean vocals to harsh black and death metal style vocals. Music is heavy, but very theatrical. I also say similar to bands like Cradle of Filth and Dimmu Borgir, which also released an album this weekend, and I did a separate review for that. You can find that on my channel. The album title, Veneficium, is Latin for witchcraft. Many songs are about historical and mythological figures. Some key tracks include Saturni, Arcanum, has haunting keyboards, dark orchestration, one of the slower, more haunting tracks. There's also Saltatio Corvi, has some heavy doom riffs, and the title track sounds like classic symphonic black metal, which includes intense tremolo pick guitar riffs and blast beats. And there's a pretty cool cover of the song Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath, and it's a very slow and dark cover, like they made it their own. That's pretty cool. But overall, very underrated band. They deserve a lot more attention. My score, 8.5 out of 10. I have another Italian band to talk about. The band's called Embrace the Souls. The album is called The Battle of the Dead. They play symphonic power metal. This is their 3rd studio album, an 11-track fantasy concept album set in this dark medieval world. And this world is divided into rival kingdoms, and the story involves this plague. It sweeps across the lands, it kills all the humans, and it claims their souls, and it feeds this army of dark forces. So it's pretty cool stuff, very fantasy-oriented. The sound of the album is classic European power metal with aggressive galloping riffs and rapid-fire double bass drumming and big orchestral layers. This band is for fans of Rhapsody of Fire, Stradivarius, and mostly Nightwish, I would say. And they also had two vocalists, male and female vocals, Giacomo Rossi with powerful metal vocals, and the theatrical soprano delivery, Martina Mazzeo. So the male-female vocal delivery is similar to a band like Nightwish and other symphonic metal bands. And the opening track sets a tone. It's very operatic vocals, a theatrical delivery, and the next track, Ever Sun, has cool guitar harmonies, fast-paced drumming, and the third track, Plague, is more like a mix of folk metal and power metal with big operatic vocals. Overall, not too bad. There's a mix of songs. Some were very upbeat, some were darker, some were more ominous. For me, 8 out of 10, and I found them classic, similar to classic Nightwish, I would say. Next is Come, sixth full-length studio album by German avant-garde death metal pioneers. Dark Millennium, officially released May 22nd, 2026 through Masca Records. This band formed in 1989 in Germany. They broke up in 1994. They reformed in 2016 after a 23-year break. This 8-track album follows that 2022 release, Acid River, and it's a step forward for the band. The central theme of the album revolves around intoxication and altered states of consciousness, but they have a unique way of expressing it through the music. It's more like a psychological journey, so they don't really explore it in a purely physical sense. Songs range from beautiful to very unsettling, and they don't really follow traditional song structures. Music can be atmospheric and dense, lots of progressive structures. At the same time, it has like this raw death metal sound. One band that you can compare it to is the band Asphyx, and there are many others. The album has two drummers as well, Andre Schalzenberg and founding member Christopher Hess, so that adds another layer of sound. Opening track here starts off with complex guitar riffs and dark whispery vocals. Next track, Amber, is a softer track and dark tones, and reminded me a little of Marilyn Manson actually. And the next track, Fear Forest, incorporated clean guitars into the death metal sound. Then they included some acoustic guitars in the song Pieces of Midnight. This one didn't really click with me, but it's kind of strange. It might be a grower. For now, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10, but it might grow on me over time. Next, I have a single by The Warning called Ego, and they're probably my favorite rock band in terms of newer bands. The song is in Spanish. One thing I'm noticing about the band is that their last two songs, they're getting a lot more experimental. Their previous single, Kerosene, was a little more synth-heavy, sounded like they were influenced by the band Muse. This one is probably the heaviest song and reminds me a lot of Poppy. One example of this influence is the way they incorporate screams, which I had never heard from this band before. If you know the band, they are three sisters from Mexico, and when you watch the video, you can see the harsh screams are coming from their drummer, whose name is Paulina. I like it. It's like a mix of Poppy and Spirit Box, which is a pretty cool direction for them to go. I'm looking forward to the new album. I don't think they announced it yet. I know this band likes to release about like 5 or 6 singles before they put out an album, so that's what they did on the last album. That's what they'll probably do now. For the single, I'm giving that 9 out of 10, just because they are one of my favorite bands. To end the video, I'm doing something completely different. The band's called Boys from Heaven. The album is called The Wanderer. Third studio album. They play AOR and hard rock. Album was released May 22nd, 2026, and the album marks the band's official debut with Frontiers Music SRL. The album is heavily inspired by classic 1980s West Coast rock, yacht rock, AOR, so you hear influences from bands like Toto, Hall & Oates, Kenny Loggins. It was produced by the band's frontman Chris Catton and mixed and mastered by Eric Martinson, and you might know that name because he is a singer and frontman of Eclipse and a few other bands. In terms of music, you hear lots of synth arrangements, vocal harmonies, saxophone played by the band member Jonas Kingstrom Larson. Opening track, I'll Wait, sounds like a typical rock song you would hear on the radio in the 80s, something along the lines of Journey. You got lots of melodic vocals, bright keyboards. And the next track, Hotline, pretty cool, something like an 80s power ballad or something like that. Next track, Hold Your Heart. Another one which is closer to a power ballad, and the song Street Life, one of my favorite tracks. That was one of the harder rocking tracks and reminded me of like mid-80s Deep Purple or something like that. Very cool. And another track I like called Eileen, which had this slight country western feel. This was not too bad. It's a nice mix or a nice break, given a lot of bands I was listening to for this review were more like extreme metal and black metal, but this was something a little different. So It's good. It's not like something I'm going to go back to often, but I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. I think it's just a cool album, just something a little different, something a little lighter. So as I'll check out last week's episode, I'm going to stick it on the screen. It should be appearing right over there. And those are the new metal releases for May 15th. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. If you're not already, I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.